Welcome back to Cricket and Crit. I am Axion.
I'm Sint.
We are continuing our playthrough of Undertale and our discussion of Mossflower by Brian Jacques.
Indeed. So, we've already seen how things went a little haywire in the last boss fight we did, because someone decided it was a good idea to stab us in the back. Stupid flower.
And we just got elevator shafted.
Well. Oh. This is nice and homey. It's nice that the computers just happen to turn on as you walk by.
Yeah, I'm guessing they have some kind of motion sensor on them.
Maybe. But, yeah. So, Betrayal is kind of a big thing in Redwall, because I think almost every Redwall story has it pop up in some form.
Yeah. Usually from, almost exclusively from the bad guys, with the singular exception of one book, as far as I am aware.
Which one was that?
Outcast of Redwall. Where the character that does the betraying is nominally one of the good guys, but not really.
I have thoughts about Outcast of Redwall, but I don't even know if it's worth doing its own series on, because it's the thoughts are basically, yeah, can we have a word about if you're born a vermin, you're always guaranteed to be evil?
And if you're born a forest-dwelling race, you are always going to be good, which there's another book that does that. I don't remember which one.
Tagarum. Because, that does the whole, nature-nurture thing, and apparently it's supposed to be mostly nature, but then you still have problems with, everything else going on, and, I don't know, it just seems very not the kind of message you actually want to send to kids. When Dungeons & Dragons is more nuanced in how it handles its various races, you might want to take a step back and rethink some stuff, okay?
But that's probably a conversation for another video, especially since we are specifically wanting to try to discuss the issue with betrayal that is omnipresent within Redwall's storytelling.
Okay, does it count as being betrayed as a child when you're like, I want to learn something about the world, and what you learn is apparently you're not supposed to trust people different from you, when that goes against everything you learn from everything else?
Yep, that is not a great message, but it is unfortunately not the message of this particular story, so we are getting a bit off topic.
Okay, right. Well, I guess it's appropriate that we're talking about betrayal with regard to Mossflower, because it would be very useful to bring in a certain wildcat. Which is to say, Revolver Ocelot. Because he has chronic backstabbing disorder. I'm sorry, but I had to make the joke.
Aye.
Put it back. Put it back.
Nope, I don't like that. I don't like that.
But they're happy to see you!
They are very happy to see me.
But, yeah. Literally every villain that we see in Mossflower betrays someone in some way. We have Sarmina, who, is probably the most obvious one of... She starts off with betraying her father by literally poisoning him and framing her brother for it, which kicks off most of the main plot. She betrays her captains by constantly putting them in not necessarily dangerous situations while she keeps herself safe, and blames them for everything that goes wrong, even if they're following her orders. And then I guess probably the most notable one, because she's actually quite proud of this one, is betraying Bane by tricking the eagle, Urgler, I believe, into thinking he's Ashleg, and letting the two kill each other so she solves two problems at once.
Yep.
So,
but
yeah.
her entire engagement with Bane is laced with this entire concept of betrayal as an expectation among they're not called the vermin races in this, since it's mostly like wildcats and like warrior peoples.
Here we have like the Mossflower races and the Cotier races, because they're kind of treated as two separate countries, which could raise a lot of stuff about like
nationalism.
I was going to say, of course, we have a country written by an Englishman who just wants to claim this other country that's not theirs and treat it like it's theirs, and disenfranchise them and take all their food and stuff. It's, you know, small potatoes compared to actual history, and I'm going to leave it at that.
But the entire conversation of when Bane joins forces with Sarmina, they have an extensive discussion. Where the narration makes it very clear that both of them fully expect the other to betray them, and that they are lying, both of them, when they make their promise to each other.
Aww.
Thank you, Ghost Thing. And that they fully expect the other is going to backstab them, and that's just how it works.
And this is why the best evil overlords hire with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter. I'm so sorry. I'm in a mood. I think it shows. But yeah, betrayal is just such a common thing with the villains that, like, it's just an expectation that it's going to happen. And yet, when it happens, they act completely surprised. So I wonder, is that just a case of, I thought I would see it coming, I thought I would get to do it first, I legitimately thought this was a trustworthy situation I was in at this point in time? Because it doesn't really make any of them look that intelligent when, you know, they walk in knowing that there's going to be a betrayal, and yet they seem completely flabbergasted when it actually happens.
Did you forget about this part of the game?
Yeah. I mean, like, is this more connected to Deltarune? Because I know you've played Deltarune and I never bothered.
It is not. This is Undertale stuff. In fact, it's probably the least connected to Deltarune of anything.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure, because, like, this is probably like we run into, like, stuff about Gaster, right?
Not really.
Okay, where did Gaster come from? Like, I could have sworn.
He's hidden in the files. You basically only learn about him if you do data mining.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, the internet has polluted my memory of the game, because I remember that was such a huge thing after the game came out. People were doing all this stuff, and there's everything about the skeletons and Gaster and all this and that, and I'm just like, I don't know. I just wanted to play the game.
Yeah, it's basically lots of hidden stuff that people found. Anyway, we were saying...
Okay, so, potentially unpopular opinion here. the hidden stuff should actually be in the playable game to count as like all this Easter egg stuff that people like. I do not think that you should have to do data mining.
Well, technically it is, but it's on like. Okay, you remember very early in this playthrough, a couple of book series ago, when we were just wandering around in the snowy area, and I got a phone call that turned into, "Oh, it says I'm going to sing about getting a wrong number."
No, that was months ago, and I've had a lot of stuff going on at school.
Okay, so the long story short is that is one of the random events that can happen in the game as based on some
Here could be a
variables.
potential betrayal.
Yeah, Alphys has shown that she has a bit of a habit of not finishing the job she's been given, and it seems at least partially the problem is she worries that if she finishes the job, people won't need her anymore and will therefore ignore her and forget about her.
I mean, the solution to that is to just be obnoxious and memorable so they can't forget you. Then they'll avoid you for that reason instead. I am here to give all the friendship advice, as you can tell from all of the friend I have.
It's a puppy.
Well, I think it's like, you know how a donut hole is a thing?
Uh-huh.
Because here we have just, like, the puppies exist in the holes. But, yeah, anyway, Betrayal. So, the primary ones I could think of are, again, the whole everyone in Cotier is betraying everybody else. You could argue that that's kind of Mask's job as well, because he infiltrates Cotier with the sole goal in mind of betraying them because he's actually on the Woodlander side. And, well, if you're a double agent, someone's getting betrayed. So even though he is a good guy and on the side of the not evil empire, it is still technically an act of betrayal. It's just, in this case, it is morally justified because he's on the side of the story that we're on.
I'm not good at dodging the rocket dog.
Stage 1 happiness froth.
Happy puppies.
Yes. But yeah, are you with me on Mask?
Yep. It is, to some degree, the job of a spy, and especially a spy who is an infiltrator and a master of disguise, like Mask is, to initiate betrayal.
Masker of disguise.
Bleh.
You know it.
And now everything goes wrong.
I like how we have a whole entry that's just no. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't pull back the shower curtain. It's just rude.
Don't really have a choice.
Well, that's not a good message to send.
Fake save point!
What is this? I want to be the guy? unhug.
That is not happy.
Well, yeah, it's lemon bread. He's probably feeling pretty sour.
Angry face.
So I'm not sure if we call it bail when it comes to the eel. Because, well, the frogs threw him in the pit because, well, they quite rightly didn't want to be eaten. But, Martin and company quickly make a deal with the eel to, if we help you get out, will you go, kill all of them? And yeah, we'll do that. So, I guess it could be perceived as a betrayal from the frog's perspective.
I suppose?
Look, I'm kind of reaching. I don't think we had as many betrayals as you thought when you put this as a separate episode.
Yeah, the primary one that I was trying to focus on was Bane, really, because his situation is the big one. And I guess I need to go back to the other save point now because I took so much damage there. Bane's entire thing demonstrates that for the bad guys, quote unquote, in Redwall's world, betrayal is a given. It is expected to happen. It is a natural part of how these characters and these societies interact. Even though, from a business perspective, as Bane is a mercenary, it would make no sense for him to base his behavior on an expectation of betrayal, both from his employer and that he is planning to backstab her in return, or in advance, rather.
Not that it works out that way, but yeah, it's not an example because, well, there clearly is some loyalty there. At least when you look at Bane and his troops, they're quite happy to stay with him. He seems to be, as far as, evil mercenaries go, a good boss. He successfully completes jobs, gets paid, and therefore his troops are kept fed, paid, and happy. So, with that in mind...
Yeah, that's kind of what I was working to get to, is that while Bane goes in to his relationship with Zarmina with an expectation of, you're going to backstab me and I'm going to backstab you, but we can work together in the meantime. And we'll just eventually... one of us will kill the other one, and hopefully I'll be the one to do it first so that I don't die. And yet he is respected as a reliable and trustworthy and good superior by all his underlings. So while there is this built-in expectation of betrayal and distrust within the monstrous species of, well, not monstrous, but like the villainous species of Redwall's world, it doesn't seem to be universal. And We don't have time to look at this right now. It's backstory stuff, basically. It's like, where do you draw that line? Why is Bane completely loyal and trustworthy to his troops, but it's considered completely normal and completely expected that when hired on as a mercenary for Cotier, it's just, oh, he'll eventually backstab me because that's just what we do. And if he doesn't, I will backstab him first.
So, it actually makes perfect sense if you look at it from Bane's perspective in this way. Be nice to the people under you so they're not motivated to backstab you. But Sarmina? No, I want her stuff.
Okay, we are...
This has also been consistent with the fact that Sarmina doesn't bother with building loyalty up. People stay with her out of fear and attrition.
Yep, which is different from Bane, as we mentioned, but also different from Verdaga. Because for as cruel and dangerous as Verdaga could be, he's mentioned several times as being basically a good boss, as we discussed. Okay, I did this already. And there is a strong loyalty to him. Okay, that was the red. Where's the yellow key? That clearly he treated his underlings well to some degree. And Zarmina chose not to continue that tradition, instead opting to, as you said, here it is. As you said, to rule primarily through fear. And this is unfortunately not an uncommon theme for villains in these kinds of stories, to decide that loyalty takes too long to engineer and too much work. I'm just going to make people too terrified of me to dare to disobey or to risk the consequences of not doing my every bidding. Like, off the top of my head, I remember that's a line even from, like, Final Fantasy VII has that. Because, when Rufus takes over the Shinra company, he tells Cloud that his father tried to rule the world with money, and that that takes too long and is too much effort, so he's just going to rule the world with fear. But yeah, that was the primary thing that I wanted to discuss, and I think we're just wrapping up this dungeon anyway. And we've kind of run out of this discussion, which did go on a bit longer than I expected, but we did have a few other subjects to consider covering, and as well as going in depth on the relationship between Bane and his troops versus his relationship with Zarmina.
Yep.
But yep, we'll wrap things up here and then see you next time. This went on longer than I expected.
Oh, it's Alphys.
I forgot that the dialogue went on for this long. But to be fair, this is the end of an entire character arc, so it makes sense. Yay! See you next time.